Welcome back to World of Royce, and I hope you guys are having a great day. Avengers Endgame was a bad movie. I know that's heresy to say, especially in this day and age, but truthfully, honestly, I was expecting so much more with that movie and hoping that it was going to go and take us into a new era of movies, but I guess that is not something that was in the cards. Got the chat going over here, by the way, guys, as well. And if you can see everything going on the screen right now, before we continue any further, I want you guys to go over to minds.com/runner, as well as to the Patreon. I want to do something more than just airsoft videos. I want to build for right now, something creative, something that I love to do, and something that I can enjoy for the time being. My ultimate goal would to be running my own business someday, and if you guys would be so awesome and kind to help with that, go to Minds and Patreon and become subscribers over there. Avengers Endgame was bad for one very good reason, and it's not the time travel. Everybody says it's the time travel. For me, it wasn't the time travel. For me, it was one very, very simple nostalgia trip. Oh, hey, look at that. I'm finally live. Avengers Endgame can be, if I'm going to describe it short and simple to someone, I would describe it this way. Avengers Endgame was a lump of coal wrapped in nostalgia and then boxed and gift wrapped in spectacle. And what I mean by that is, I think we were expecting so much more than what we got with this movie. Because the spectacle came after Infinity War. Infinity War was insane. Guys, I see you down in the chat. What's going on? What's going on, Victor? What's going on, Jules? Thank you guys for tuning in to my rants and thoughts. I've been thinking about Avengers Endgame for a little while now, and the more that I think about it, the more it just bothers me, and I couldn't quite put it into words, but that's exactly how I would describe it. It was a spectacle. It was, if I could describe it in no other way, a saga. Right, to this wonderful story that we've been following for 10 years. And instead, what do we get? They monetized nostalgia. Do you guys know what nostalgia used to mean? It's not this only 90s kids will remember thing. It's being able to look back fondly on memories. And generally nostalgia, for the good old days and stuff like that, were kind of when you got older. But now we kind of live in a generation of nostalgia, and Hollywood and Facebook and all these places figured out how to market nostalgia against us. And they did it, and Endgame proved it. We didn't get anything new with Endgame. We didn't. Admittedly, it was wrapping up the story, yeah. You probably hear my dogs losing their stuff upstairs. There's probably a leaf that rolled across the driveway. We didn't get anything new with Endgame. You know what they did? They go, hey, remember that movie? Well, what about this movie? Don't forget, you remember that movie, right? Oh, that was a good movie, wasn't it? Well, watch what we're going to do. Now we're going to show you a scene, but like from a different perspective, and we're just going to like poke fun at it. And so many people accepted this as like gentle nods to things in the comics or gentle nods to other scenes in other movies. But Avengers Endgame had no identity on its own. And the conduit in which they used this was time travel. And I hate time travel movies for reasons like this. But to use nostalgia, I would have loved to have gone to Avengers Endgame and sat there and watched that movie and been like, oh my God, this entire saga has led up to this moment right here. But instead, we got this movie that was like half self-aware. And I'm getting tired of movies like being self-aware of what they are. They just really, really bother me when they're like that. And what we end up getting from all this is people going, hey, do you remember all those times that we made you have a good time? Well, now we're going to make a movie that tells you to remember all those times. If somebody asks me, hey, should I see Avengers Endgame? I would say no, because you need to watch 20 other movies first. or however many of them that there were. Somebody says, hey, should I watch Avengers Infinity War? Yes, go for it. Like, do I need to watch anything else? No, you won't. They give you everything you need to know in Infinity War. Captain America Winter Soldier. You don't need to watch anything before Captain America Winter Soldier. They were not prepared to deal with. So let's talk about the time travel. I think everybody has talked about the time travel at this point. They wanted their cake. They wanted to eat it too. That's the easiest way to describe this. The time travel narrative of Endgame immediately discredits anything that they went through in Infinity War and that 5-year time gap in Endgame. It discredits all of it. That was heartbreaking to watch some of our favorite heroes from the last decade take a defeat like that. How are they going to continue? What are they going to do? Where do they go from here? Guess that is not something that was in the cards. All right, and hopefully we've reconnected. I guess it's going to be one of those nights with my internet. Hasn't done this on me in quite a while. Wish I knew why it was doing this. All right, and we're back online. I wish I knew why my internet did what it does. I have no idea. I was told it's supposed to be fast enough to handle this stuff. Apparently, it's not. But one of the things that Endgame did, and I lost my train of thought. Why did I lose my train of thought? Possibly because my internet decided to die on me, and I do not know why. That sucked because I had a really, really good thought train coming up. All right, that's where I was. Where do they go from here? They just suffered a massive defeat. How do they continue? What do they do? What's next? What's next? And essentially what was next was what we'd already seen. Cheeky references, winks, winks, nods, nods, nudge, nudges to everything we'd already seen before. You know, time travel things that go back. And if you actually know anything about time travel, there's no way they could have done what they did. They wanted their cake and they wanted to eat it too. The time travel was terrible. It completely, the time travel in Endgame did the same thing that Captain Marvel did to Nick Fury. Everybody wanted to know everybody wanted to know, how did Nick Fury lose his eye? Because a cat scratched his eye. That's what Captain Marvel did to Nick Fury. And you're like, wow, I thought it was because it was the last time he trusted someone. And he lost his eye. And apparently, Avengers Endgame is going to do the exact same thing. I was looking for an epic conclusion, and I didn't get it. Something that could have been amazing. They constantly changed the rules to the Infinity Stones. In Guardians of the Galaxy, it was well established that normal people can't hold Infinity Stones. You had to have like cosmic power of the Celestials to hold the Infinity Stones. One Infinity Stone almost blew up the entire Guardians of the Galaxy cast, or the main cast anyway. And the only reason that it didn't was because one of them was half a Celestial, or well, whatever Ego the Living Planet was in this continuity. So one of them had to be like half God, God-like. And the other four had to, I don't know, power of friendship or ways through that or something like that. But it was very, very blatantly obvious. you can't just hold an Infinity Stone. You can't just grab that stuff. And they were picking this stuff up like they were pop rocks out of the freaking bag. And I couldn't understand that. But I thought the Infinity Stones were something to be revered. I thought only those who were strong enough to be able to possess them could do it. But everybody goes back. Everybody's going to get an Infinity Stone. Admittedly, there were some good things about the time travel. I don't think it needed to happen, but the Cap versus Cap fight was great up until he goes, Bucky's alive. And I'm like, wait a minute. You just altered time. You just changed time. They then, with the time travel, apparently Loki has the Tesseract or whatever stone that was. I don't know. I didn't pay attention that much. But literally, it gets knocked out of his hand. They lose that stone. They go, oh crap, we'll just go back further in time and grab it from this point. But if I remember correctly, they were so important to the universe with what the Ancient One said, that if they're moved from a timeline, you create a branch there. Well, the stone got moved in that timeline, so wouldn't it, does it have to leave that timeline, or does it just have to disappear in that timeline? Does Loki still have it in that timeline? Is there an alternate timeline? You see the problems with time travel here. When you go into these kinds of ridiculous theories, you end up with not a good movie. But that's okay, right? Because you're going to see nostalgia. You're going to see Captain America. He's going to get in an elevator and people are going to get in the elevator with him, but he's not going to fight this time. It's okay. It's nostalgia. You're going to see Peter Quill dance, but guess what? We're going to knock him out this time. It's okay. It's nostalgia. It's nostalgia. You remember those other movies that we made you watch that you loved? Well, we'll watch them again and we're just going to poke fun at them the whole time. You know, the only nostalgic line that worked for me in Avengers Endgame was the line at the very end when Happy is sitting there with Tony Stark's daughter. And he goes, hey, kiddo, you hungry? And she says, yeah. She goes, I think the line was, I want a cheeseburger. And he says, you know, your dad liked cheeseburgers. She said, really? He said, yeah. He said, I'll buy you all the cheeseburgers that you want. That was an endearing moment. That was a hell of a line for nostalgia. Because you remember Happy picking up Tony Stark in Iron Man 1 after he had been held captive for 3 months. He just lands. He says, I need 2 things. I need an American cheeseburger and I need a press conference. And in Endgame, Tony dies. And Happy is going to go take his little girl, Tony Stark's little girl, to go get a cheeseburger, just like she took her dad to go get a cheeseburger. That right there, that one worked for me. I couldn't even enjoy the I am Iron Man moment because the Infinity Stones, the second that they got onto him, they should have exploded his ass. They should have exploded his ass. And they didn't. I wonder why. Probably for dramatic effect. Avengers Endgame was a disappointing end to a wonderful saga. Admittedly, the entirety of the MCU up to Infinity War had its ups and downs. There were some great stories in there. There was some great action. They yada-yada'd too many things. They didn't want to deal with what happens when all of a sudden you just bring back 3.5 billion people. What happens when you do that? Just on one planet. What happens when all of a sudden husbands and wives come back and realize that for them, no time has passed, but 5 years has passed for their loved ones, and they've moved on. They've remarried. They've dealt with depression and committed suicide, and they're no longer there. They died. Pick a reason. They didn't want to deal with those emotional. Also, here's the other thing, too. When Hulk snaps and brings back everybody, do they appear where they were when they were snapped out of existence? Because if that's the case, the highway systems just got really full. Like, think about that. They didn't want to answer that question. What about people in planes? The planes aren't there anymore. So do they just materialize in midair and just fall 30,000 feet to their death? They didn't want to explain these things. And the problem is I love talking about movies that I've seen. I love talking about the parts that were good, the parts that were bad, and really thinking and going, man, if you really just think about this part of this movie, God, it was good, and here's why it was good, and here's what it did right, and all of this stuff. And when you talk about Endgame, the movie breaks. If you think about it at all, the movie breaks. They half-assed made Scarlett Johansson, or Black Widow, sorry. Hey, what's going on, Skylar? I miss you too, buddy. They half-assed made Scarlett Johansson's character like sacrifice herself. And all of a sudden, Clint Barton, Hawkeye, gets the Soul Stone? Well, wait a minute. I thought you had to lose what you love. I mean, I know they were good friends, but love? Really? Love. Have to lose what you love. Love is a powerful thing. You know, and I thought you had to lose what you love most. What they said in Infinity War. You have to lose what you love most in Infinity War. That's what they said. That's what they said. So they love each other the most? I didn't realize that. Didn't realize that they loved each other the most. And let's give a shout out to Jules, Skylar Grimm, and Mama Runner is up in the chat. I don't know. I wanted something better. I wanted something better than something that would just yada yada in nostalgia, because they realize that nostalgia is marketable. Nostalgia gets likes, gets clicks. Do you remember top 10 things from your childhood? Well, I would like to remember those by having a conversation, not by it being force-fed to me. Nostalgia. Instead of coming up with their own movie, instead of coming up with a way to make an epic conclusion to this story, just like, hey, let's just nostalgia. That's all we got to do. Let's just pick a bunch of scenes from other movies and then just like write a funny little twist to it. They'll love that. Never mind the fact that Thor was dealing with depression and alcoholism and they treated it as a joke. Glad to know that that's what Hollywood thinks alcoholism and depression are. Known some people with those exact things in their life. Hell, if I'm not careful, I might have to work on one of them. And that's how they treat it? No. They threw characters away. They yada-yada'd character development through that 5-year time gap. Thanos' death, I was so impressed with that. It just, they were talking and then all of a sudden Thanos was dead. And I was just like, wow, that was not impactful at all. There was no build. It was just over. Just bam, done. Thanos doesn't exist anymore. What? How? Why? I don't know. Those are my thoughts on this just clusterfuck of a movie. And I don't understand why it turned like that. Why we got that. Why? Skylar Grimm. Oh my God. Rocco's Modern Life touched on the whole reboot nostalgia thing. I am going to be 100% honest. I was not a Rocco's Modern Life fan. I tried when I was a kid, Skylar, and I couldn't do it. Oh, it was bad. Rocco's Modern Life, not my taste. Not my taste. I know a bunch of people whose taste it was, though. Yeah, nostalgia. That's what ruined Avengers Endgame. Because instead of writing a movie that would reference things in a line such as my favorite line of the movie is, I'll buy you as many cheeseburgers as you want. Which was elegant. It showed taste and class. And genuine care. And you could remember a character fondly. Instead of doing that, no. They just shoved it in your face and put it down your throat. The worst thing about Avengers Endgame is you have to watch all of the other movies to understand Avengers Endgame. And a movie that you have to do that with is not a good movie. A movie that you have to watch other movies to understand is not a good movie. Maybe if it's in a trilogy or, maybe the Harry Potter films or maybe whatever. But Avengers Endgame, all the Avengers movies, with the exception of like Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron was not good. But like even Captain America Civil War, which was technically an Avengers movie. All of these movies were easy to digest and you didn't need to watch anything else. And yet the epic conclusion. Recommend watching the reboot because it touches the whole nostalgia thing, and it's basically agreeing with what you were saying. I don't know if I can. I did not like the original. I really didn't like the original, and I'm not looking for stuff that like agrees with me per se. I don't like things that agree with me. I tend to like disagree with a lot of stuff. Like I'm sure right now a lot of people love Avengers Endgame. I'm sure a lot of people love that movie. I just didn't. And oh god, Mama Runner's here. Yes. Okay. But no. I just wanted something more from Avengers Endgame, and this is something that's bothered me for months. And I've wanted to talk about it for months. I just didn't know how. I didn't know how to say it. And essentially, Avengers Endgame was a bad movie, wrapped in nostalgia, and packaged in a spectacle. And I think that we were lied to. An epic conclusion to a saga. No, I don't think that's what we got. I think we just got sold the 20 movies that we'd watched before and paid for already. Which, if that's the case, those guys laughed all the way to the bank. Hopefully you guys enjoy segments like this. If you do, share them with everybody else. I do not know why my internet keeps going down like that on me all the time. Might need to call and adjust it. Skylar, you're not missing much. Leave it off at Infinity War. You'll be all right. Trust me, it's not worth the watch. But yeah, let me know. Go to minds.com/runner down. Links below. Patreon. There's also a Streamlabs donate link. I am going to start building something more than just an airsoft channel. Hopefully you guys like what you saw here. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all on the world of Royce. Have a good